Hey guys, how's everyone? I'm not even sure if I'm live yet. Oh yeah, now I am. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Nick from ForexNoobs.com with the daily analysis. Today is Tuesday, the 19th of May. Wow. Time is 10:01 here in the UK. You're looking at well, we're going to switch up to a EURGBP daily chart. No, you're looking at a 6-hour chart. I'm all over the place today. Now you're looking at a daily chart. How's everyone doing today? Hope you're all good. Hey, Sydney. Hey, I always say Bridget, but it's not Bridget. I know you said to me, it's okay. That's how English people say it. I just feel bad though, whenever I mispronounce someone's name. Bridget. Hey, Ty. Hey, Nubal. I thought that was your name for a second. I'm like, that's not really a name, Nubal. But I guess it's a brand name. Well, hey, Nubal sounds. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Olu. Hey. Bob. Bob's better. Well, it's not better. It's just, an actual name. So, yeah, let's get into the analysis, guys. We're going back to normal, as you guys have probably noticed. I mean, we haven't done a 10 a.m. webinar for quite some time now, but the markets have stopped the crazy moves sparked by the COVID-19 lockdown. And while we haven't gone back to pre-lockdown volatility, which is a good thing because that was pretty low volatility. While we haven't gone back down to that volatility, we have gone to kind of, well, obviously a fair bit lower than the volatility we were seeing through here. Now, I've said this before, but I'm going to just say it again. Just because we've gone back to that, it doesn't mean that this kind of low volatility or lower volatility is going to last. It could easily go back to this because this kind of movement is what we were seeing in the 2008 recession. Just for around about 2.5 years it was happening. So a lot of people, a lot of professionals or experts are saying that we are heading into another recession. I'm not going to speculate as to whether or not that's going to happen. All I want to say is we need to be prepared for the coming year, 2 years, to switch quickly between trading this style of market that we had immediately post lockdown to the more normal style we've been trading pretty consistently for the last 9 years or whatever. So we just need to be prepared for that. We need to be prepared to switch. So right now the switch has gone back towards trading lower volatility markets, but it could switch back at any time. So yeah, I'm just going to be prepared. But right now, what I'm going to be focusing on is all time frames between the 4-hour to the daily on this analysis. So that means 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour, 12-hour daily. For the lower time frame trading, I'll just be posting trades directly to the chat room. We won't be doing analysis on that because my lower time frame trading during these conditions is for the 5, 15, and 30-minute chart. And there's just no point doing analysis for those time frames because, by the time this analysis gets up on YouTube and everything like that, all those trades have already triggered. So we'll just focus on the chat room for those setups, and obviously the forum, I'll share them there too. Right, so that's over. Just a quick explanation as to what's going on, some housekeeping, as people say with these pre-video announcements. So let's jump into the actual analysis itself. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to unmark these, and we'll just start from scratch, essentially. Right, AUDJPY. There was a trade here that someone on the forum took. I can't remember who it was. Bizarro took this trade. Yeah, now I remember. Forum name, not real name. But I think he closed out because it wasn't going his way after a few days. I'm not sure. I just marked this because he took it, so I just wanted to keep track of it. When a forum member takes a trade, I'll just mark it green so I can keep track of it and see how it progresses. Euro AUD was a trade that... Did I share this one last week? I think I did. Or maybe someone else shared it. I can't even remember these days, guys. So many things happen on the forum that I can't remember if I shared the trade. I know that I didn't get into the trade myself, so I know that much, but I can't remember who shared it. I did? Ah, cool. George has a much better memory than me. I know a lot of you got out of this one. I know Bridget, I'll just say Bridget, got out of this one because she said on the forum yesterday. I don't know who else got out of it. It just depends where your target was. Obviously, I had this up here, but that's a huge target for a trade like this. I think most of you actually got out kind of almost perfectly at the top here. That's crazy, actually. I didn't realize how perfectly that hit target, because our general target is 2R, so that would have just been hit by that candle and then turned around. I take it that's where you got out, Bridget, right? Right at the top here. I don't know. I don't think I saw anyone else saying they exited, so I don't know if some of you are still in this one. All right, so you got out right at the top. Nice. I imagine most of you got out at 2R because this trade was a slow burner, so it was moving up, down for ages last week. And I'm sure when it finally hit 2R on Friday, I'm sure most of you got out, but I didn't really see many people updating me on the trade, so I've got no idea, really. But anyway, this trade I would say is closed out successfully, depending on your entry. If your entry was a little bit after this point, then obviously this trade would not have hit target and it's now pulled back. It's hard to say stay in this trade because it took so long just to push up to here before turning around and losing most of its progress. So if you're still in this trade, you should probably close it out. I mean, it's just going to start eating away your profit. The swap is negative on this one. So you exited on Friday too. I think most people probably exited this on Friday. But if you didn't, just look at how much you're losing on swap and just figure out if it's worth it to you to hold on to this trade. I personally would most likely be closed out had I not closed out on Friday, but I would have definitely closed out on Friday. Even if my target was a little wider. So let's say my target was up here at 2.28 for whatever, or let's just say my entry was later, right? And that drove my target up to here. But then on Friday, price is like, instead of my target's at 2R, so price was at 1.8R on Friday. In a situation like that, where price is so close to the target and it's the end of the day on Friday, I tend to just close out the trade because it's close enough. And I'm not going to hold over the weekend just for that extra 0.2R that I could gain. It's just not worth it to hold over the weekend, especially in a situation like this, where we're often seeing very large gaps. Although this weekend wasn't a large gap, but you never know before it happens if it's going to be a large gap or not. So anyway, this trade's over and done with. If you're still in it, then you probably shouldn't have held, but since you held, just check out how much you're losing to swap and yeah, close it out. I don't think I took, I can't remember if I took a trade last week. I've been pretty distracted with some other stuff. Does anyone remember if I took a trade? I'll look at my record later, and I'll update you guys on my trades. But I don't think I took a trade because it would have been marked here if I took it. So, right, let me. Anyway, Sorry, I'm just getting a bit distracted. I wanted to update you guys on my trades, but we'll just do that on the forum. We need to get this analysis going because we haven't actually done any analysis. AUDJPY, nothing much going on there. AUDUSD, this one's quite, ooh, this one's actually really, really interesting. So, what have we got going on AUDUSD? Price is in a range between these two levels. Let's zoom in first before I start drawing on this chart. So price is in a very clearly defined range between these two levels. So this level here, this level here. We can see price has bounced, oops. Price has bounced from the top, came to the bottom, bounced from the bottom, hit the top, bounced from the top, hit the bottom, it's bounced from the bottom. So that's my requirements for a range to be confirmed. So we got 2 bounces from the bottom, 2 bounces from the top. Those bounces have completed. Now, in a situation like this, what I start to look for is bounces within that range. So just back and forth movement between that range. So right now it's at the top of the range and it's very clearly stalling out. If we drop down to the 6 hour, we can see that the first candle that hit the top of the range was indecision. Now this one broke through and made a new high, which is fine. It doesn't mean that it's going to keep going. And now this one that opened 12 minutes ago is kind of just stagnating, really. Not really doing much, but it's only 12 minutes old, so we can't really say much about this candle. It's still got quite a long time before it closes. So I'm going to keep an eye on this candle, see what it does. I probably won't enter on the 6 hour though. I prefer to enter on the larger time frames, but with a range like this, where it's quite clear that if you were trading this range already and you were waiting for the daily, it would have been tough to get a good entry on the daily. So I'm definitely going to be looking on some of the lower time frames, perhaps the 8 hour for this trade, but I might even be tempted to jump in on the 6 hour. Although you guys know how it works. The lower the time frame, the bigger the risk. So I'm going to be watching this potentially on the 8 hour, maybe the 12 hour, maybe the 6 hour. We'll just see how it plays out, really. 12 hour would be the best time frame to take it on because it has a pretty good win rate, and it looks like this range has worked pretty well on the 12 hour. I mean, that would have been a great entry there. This one wouldn't have been such a good entry because it went sideways forever, but then there was an entry here and no real entry at the bottom bounce. But point is, 12 hour is what I would prefer, failing that 8 hour and failing that 6 hour. And when I say failing that, I just mean if it starts to trigger quicker, then I'm going to be looking on the lower time frames. Righto. Let's keep going. I know this one is not quite at the resistance area yet, but I am going to be keeping an eye on EURGBP. It's broken out of this kind of pretty crappy range, really. It's not a great range, but it was certainly in a range for this period. It's broken out of that range, and now it's headed up. It could bounce from this resistance area. I'm going to keep an eye on it, but I'm not terribly excited over this. I just want to potentially short it when it hits this resistance area. So we'll just wait and see if that even happens. Potential short here on EURGBP. Now there's a few things that can happen here. Right now, you might be looking at this and saying, how do you possibly see a short there? But I always try to kind of think of what a candle could look like by the end of the day. So this candle here, by the end of today, even though it's pretty strong right now, could easily end up looking like this. And then I'm sure most people could see a potential reversal here, much like this candle here. Not exactly the same, but very similar. So there is a potential short here because this is a pretty decent resistance area. But the more likely scenario is obviously that this is going to keep heading up. Now, I don't really see much opportunity to get in on a long trade until it's at least pushed up beyond here. So I'm not looking for any longs, but I will keep an eye on EURGBP for price to stall out on this resistance area. It's probably not going to happen, but may as well keep an eye on it. You never know. Now, EURUSD, this one is pretty interesting. It's very similar to AUDUSD. We're in a very, very strong range here. So why is this range strong? Well, my minimum definition for a range, like I said, is a 2 from the top, 2 from the bottom. So this is 1 from the bottom, 1 from the top, 2 from the bottom, 2 from the top. So that's, when I say 2, I mean bounces. 1 bounce from the bottom, 2 bounce from the bottom, and then 1 bounce from the top, 2 bounces from the top. But this one has a 3rd bounce from the bottom right here. So, you know, that tells us that this range is holding and it's quite a strong range. Now, is the top going to hold as well as the bottom? Who knows? But I want to find out. I want to see what happens when it hits this resistance area. And if it stalls out, I'm definitely 100% looking for a short here, guys. So let's keep an eye on that. Quite a busy day for a Tuesday. GBP Aud. This one's quite interesting. It's hit this pretty strong resistance area, support area rather. This one needs some updated support resistance areas too, because these are a bit, yeah, it's not great support resistance areas for here. It's a bit of a messy pair, but I'm gonna make do with what I can place right now. Regardless of it being a messy pair, what we're seeing down here towards the bottom is quite clear. Price is hitting a very strong support area after gapping down, and it's stalled out almost completely so far today. We're halfway through the day in terms of when this candle opened, because it opened at 10 p.m. So it's 10 a.m. right now. We're halfway through the trading day. It's going to close in 12 hours. If it continues to stall out like this, there's potential for a long trade from the bottom here. Although you are countering a very strong bearish trend if you were to long here. So keep that in mind. It could be quite a risky trade. That being said, AUD is kind of weak right now. GBP is also weak, but it hasn't been below this level, and it's a very significant level since November, really, halfway through November. So it's quite some time that it's not been able to get through this level here. You can see that the lows have like pretty much exactly equaled themselves. So I'm talking about this low here and today's low. They've exactly equaled themselves. Price is clearly struggling to get through this support area. So there's definitely potential for a long trade here. This one could be taken on some of the lower time frames. Could hop on the 12-hour. You could even be in already if you want. Well, not already, but very soon if you wanted to jump in on the 6-hour. As always, I'm leaning towards the daily, guys, but I know a lot of you prefer to trade like the 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour. So if you're looking to trade those time frames, this could trigger, you know, within the next 10 minutes, really, if it starts to push up quickly. I'd probably do something like this. Try to get my entry well above the high of this indecision candle, above this high here. Honestly, I'd try to get it even higher than that. I'd want some nice, a nice move up before I'm comfortable entering this trade on a low time frame. So I'd probably do something like this. But as you guys know, you know me, I'd prefer to wait for the 12-hour / daily. as always. So I'm going to be looking at this on the 12 hour. Now, interestingly enough, this could actually trigger on the 12 hour at any point anyway. So this one could trigger pretty soon. Could trigger in 5 minutes. Who knows if we see a big push up. Not like it hasn't happened before. Still want a nice wide entry on this because we're dealing with such a big, strong bearish trend that a wide entry, when we have the risk to reward ratio to do so, it's not a bad idea to have that wide entry. So I'll probably do something like this. This isn't exact, but roughly what I'm looking at. So if I were to enter on the 12 hour, I'd do it something like this. So those numbers for you guys, 1.8748 for the entry, target 1.8994, and the stop 1.8634. Now, of course, those aren't exact. Those I just, as you saw, threw them up there, eyeballing it, but it's roughly where I would go. I mean, I eyeball most of my entries anyway. So it's roughly where I would go for an entry on this one. Another trick that I know a lot of you use, and I'm going to be creating a tool for this, guys, is to take the indecision candle and then do 20% of it. So this indecision candle here is 77 pips. So 20% of that is 14. Let's just round it up to 15 pips. So you want an entry at least 15 pips above. This one's 20 pips. So, you know, it's thereabouts. This one's a bit bigger, but around about there. That's another way you can use to enter trades when you want that kind of wider entry. Do 20% above the range of the previous candle. Honestly, man, I've never used the average true range. I'm just not a big indicator guy. So I'm not really sure what you mean with that. I know it's weird that I've been trading for like 12 years and I don't know what some indicators do, but you know, if you never use these things, you just don't really know. Who was in this New Zealand CHF trade? Someone, I think, posted this to the forum. I can't remember. Looks like it's going quite well for them. Keep a close eye on this resistance area for New Zealand CHF. It's a fair way off from it, but once it hits this resistance area, it could definitely turn around here. New Zealand JPY. This one's a bit interesting. What I'm going to do here is I would still say that resistance is up here where I have it, but sometimes when you get into a range, price starts bouncing from lower in the resistance area. So I'm going to just place a green line here just to remind myself that price could bounce lower. But New Zealand JPY looks quite interesting because price is pushing up to this resistance area, and I've explained ranges already like twice in this analysis session, so I don't need to explain them again. But as you can see here, it's clearly in a range. It's been in a range since kind of coming into this area. So I'm looking to take a short here from the top of this range. Busy day. New Zealand USD. This is in a range between this level and this more minor level here, although this minor level is starting to look like a major level actually. Support resistance areas are a bit messy down here after this crazy movement. It's hard to get good support resistance, so we need to kind of like adjust a fair bit. But price is in a range here on New Zealand USD, so once it hits the top of this range, potential for a short trade. Oof. There's a lot happening. A lot happening, guys. It's crazy. USDCAD is also in a range. This one's a bit of a messier range, and it's one of those kinds of range that tightens as it goes. A lot of people trade these as sort of wedges. I'm not a huge fan of this style of trading. It just never really suited me. Not saying that it doesn't work. I'm just saying I don't personally use it. Except for lower time frames. I do mess around with it on lower time frames, but not on the dailies. But yeah, it's tightening into a wedge. I'm not going to trade it as a wedge, as I've already said. But if it were to push up to this resistance area, I would look for a short from there. But more importantly, right now, if this candle starts to push lower into this support area and stalls out on this support area, I'll be looking for a long from the support area. So I'm going to keep a close eye on that. Right now, it doesn't look like it is going to do that because this candle's stalling out pretty heavily. But like I've already said, guys, you know how this goes. By the end of the day, this candle could end up looking something like this. And if it ends up looking something like that, and then tomorrow's candle ends up looking something like this, and then the next day's candle, or this could be on the 12 hour, so it could happen faster than, you know, each candle being worth a day. Next candle looks something like this, then we've got a trade on, guys. So I'm seeing potential here for price to stall out on the support level, but it might not. So let's just keep an eye on that. USDCHF, this is doing absolutely nothing. It's moving sideways in an insanely tight range. USDJPY is doing nothing. Gold and silver, not interested right now. So guys, to summarize, this is going to be a long summary. I'll try to get through it quick. AUDUSD stalling out on resistance, potential short here. This one can trigger on most time frames. Look, if you really want to, you could even enter this on the 6 hour, 4 hour, whatever. As you guys know, I prefer to wait for the larger time frame, so I'm probably going to wait for one of the larger time frames, but I'm willing to go down lower. EURGBP, just want to see what happens when price hits this resistance area. EURGPY, on the daily, this could end up closing as indecision, but it's pushing so much right now that I highly doubt it's going to happen, but who knows? Best to be prepared. EURUSD pushing up to resistance, looking for price to stall out on this resistance area. GBP AUD, this one is on the 12 hour, could trigger very, very soon. Price stalling out on support. We're getting a nice little candle starting to push up. So a break of the previous candle's high and then a push further would give us a nice entry. But keep in mind, this is counter to a very strong trend. So this is quite a risky trade. If you're entering this one, you have to be aware of the risk of entering a trade like this. So yeah, just be careful with this one. New Zealand CHF, just waiting to see what happens when price hits this resistance area. It's a fair way off, but I'm marking it because there's good potential for a reversal from this resistance area. New Zealand JPY, just waiting for a reversal from this resistance area or from the green line to, which is minor resistance. Definitely some potential there. It's clearly in a bit of a range here. It's not the cleanest and best range, but it's a range nonetheless. New Zealand USD is also in a range. Again, it's not the cleanest or best range, but it is a range. So waiting for a short from this resistance area up here. USD CAD, this one, I probably shouldn't have even marked this one because it's so messy, but if it does drop down into the support area, I will be looking for a long. So yeah, guys, that's the summary. I know some people say I talk too fast sometimes, but if I were to talk slow, it would take forever to get through that. And I know a lot of you don't have a lot of time. So I talk fast when I need to. Are there any questions, guys? Doesn't look like there's any questions, but I'm going to give you guys just another minute or two to type in questions if there's any slow typers here. All right, it doesn't look like there's any questions, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys very much for attending. There's a whole lot happening today, so keep a close eye on your charts, set your alarms, and just be ready, especially for GBP AUD, because this one could trigger on the 12-hour very soon. I'm leaning towards waiting for the daily myself, but it's a very tempting trade. Even though it's quite risky one, it's quite tempting. So I'm probably just gonna bite the bullet and enter this one on the 12-hour. It is a valid setup. So set your alarms and get ready for this one. I'm gonna in fact do that right now. I'm gonna throw an alarm just before the entry. I'm gonna pull that down a bit. I want to know when it breaks the. Oh, right. Never mind. Sorry, I just saw something. I'm learning some coding stuff, so I'm gonna try and mess with this webhook thing. Looks quite interesting. But anyway, that's not important right now. What's important is I'm gonna set my alarm here just above the high of the indecision candle. That way I get alerted when it's broken. It is moving up right now, so this could happen very, very soon, guys. This one is, you know, gonna happen soon, potentially. So I'm gonna shut up now and get this analysis up and posted to YouTube. That way, if you want to join this risky trade, remember, risky, you can jump in along with me before it triggers. So thank you very much, guys, and I will see you for tomorrow's analysis, which will also be at 10 a.m. Bye-bye.